Hey everybody, this is Kristen with Sew Mama Sew, and today I'm really excited to bring you our very first video tutorial. What we're going to do is make some blocks that are in the shape of origami animals. This idea came from my daughter, who wanted some pillows both large and small for her bedroom as she's 9, and so we went online to look for some design ideas, and we came across a really great pillow that had a screen printed origami animal on it. We really loved it, but we thought it would be better in patchwork. So we decided to do that. Wasn't exactly sure how I was going to pull that off. So there was a lot of free patterns out there that took you step by step of how to make their design. But I was really having a hard time with just the concept of how to build your own pattern and what the rules were for doing that with paper piecing. And so that's one of the things that I hope you'll take away today, is how to start from the beginning, from your own design, and what some of the rules are for creating your paper shapes that you're going to sew together. So just walking through these blocks, these are the blocks that I created for my daughter. There's a hummingbird, a butterfly we did, this dove, a frog, a rabbit, and then the final one is the fish, and the fish is the one that we're going to work on today. So this is the font that I've printed out is Origami Bats by Lauren Ashpole, and each image is a letter, A, B, C, D, and so on. So I printed these all out on one page. I noticed with the font too, when you're using it in your Word program, if you switch between caps and no caps, then it does a print like a little origami paper or solid black, and so I use solid black on here. The first step you're going to need to do is choose your letter, and on a single sheet of paper print out your animal I did this fish right here, and that's at about 600 point font. So change the font size to 600 and print a single animal on one sheet of paper. So it looks just like this. This is actually bigger than this, but this is the 600, and this will be enlarged later after we've selected all the pieces, or after we've drawn out all the pieces. So this is what we need to go by first. The first thing you're going to do after you've printed it out is just draw a box around the animal. Do it at about a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to roughly do this right here. After that, you want to look for some logical sections that you're going to sew together. So when you do this paper piecing method, you're going to take lots of little pieces. This will be a piece, this will be a piece, this will be a piece. Those little pieces come together into sections, and then you sew the larger sections together. So look for some places where you would sew sections together that are logical. I don't think there's any one right way to do this. I think that you could probably do it in a number of different ways as far as dividing it up. But when you do that, I'm going to use just this yellow pen to do my sections like this. So I think that that's a logical section there to sew together. And then over here, that's a logical section. And that's really it. And then the other one will be this section here. So I have 3 sections. Those little tiny pieces in each section will come together, and then I'll sew those 3 sections together. And I'll show you how I've done that with the other animals that I've done. So that was the fish, there's the dove, I also did 3 sections there. The rabbit had 4 sections. The frog is a mirror image, so there's one that goes right through the middle, and I sometimes use a white color pencil on here, but there's actually 6 sections of the frog. So also these together, this together, this together, and then sew the big seam down the middle together. The butterfly is also a mirror image. I've drawn those so that it's in quadrants there. And finally, the hummingbird was kind of the most complicated of them all, but these are the sections that I ended up working with. So our next step is to divide this fish into small pieces that will eventually be fabric that we will sew together. As you can see on my finished piece here, this is a piece of fabric, this is a piece of fabric. They're all separate little pieces that come together. So that needs to be drawn out on your paper. And if you were doing your own design, you know, the method is the same, where I would just draw whatever you wanted to draw and then think about how you would divide it up. And you just use a straight edge and a black pen. Make sure you have a real dark black pen, because the next step is to transfer this to freezer paper, and you'll need to be able to see the design through the paper. So I'm going to draw these little lines first that are in between the spaces, and I should kind of explain that. In all of these blocks, there's little tiny, it's almost like sashing that represents the fold lines of the origami animal. And here's the frog. You can see that there's these little spaces. I'm not going to cut those out separately as separate pieces of paper, but they do need to be drawn on here. There's going to be a different method for that. I'm almost just going to cut long strips for those. But they need to be drawn on here so that all your other pieces are the right size. Just continue to divide this up into little pieces. And like I said, our next step is to transfer this to freezer paper. So I was going to continue just drawing those lines on there, and you just want to look for places where it's real obvious and logical. And now my rule is, when I do this, is that I don't want to make any Y seams. And a Y seam is just what it sounds like. I don't want to make any seams like this, where I have to, you know, if you're a quilter and you've done Y seams before, you know it's not easy, and so I just want to avoid that if possible. And if there is a place where two angles meet, then I would just rather section it off and create two different pieces that I sew together, so that almost all my pieces end up being either triangles or rectangles. Nothing else, no other kind of funky shapes. So I'll keep doing that, and eventually I will end up with something like this. Now all my pieces here have been divided up, and I've numbered them, and I've numbered the background pieces, which is going to be the gray fabric, with numbers, and then I've used letters for each of the other pieces, which will be the printed fabric. And I also put on here some arrows that just show the orientation for the grain line. With my print fabric, it doesn't matter to me, because I figured that this is supposed to represent an origami animal, and origami paper would be folded, and so the direction of the print would be going different ways. So I didn't want them all actually to go the same way, and I'll go back to that when we iron the freezer paper onto the fabric. But so number all of your background pieces, and then use letters to designate each of your print pieces. The next step is to enlarge this design on your copier. In this case, I enlarged this to 150%, and that's how I got it bigger. If you have a copier at home, you probably won't be able to enlarge it to either 150 or 200% and have it print on a single piece of paper. So just put it down on your copier and do 150%, turn it, do 150%, turn it. So you end up with 4 sheets of paper. This actually fit on just 2, so that I have these 2 pieces. And this one has the complete front of the fish, and this one has the complete back of the fish. So I just need to combine these. If you've worked with any PDF patterns all online, if you've printed them before, you know that you just print a section of the paper or a section of the pattern and then tape them together. So this is kind of the same idea. Make sure you use clear tape so that you can see your lines when you're going to trace over it. Okay, so that's your next step, and now you're ready for to transfer this to freezer paper. Make sure you save this, because this is going to be like if you were making a puzzle, this would be that puzzle box cover, because you're going to refer to this once you get all your little pieces cut out.